Okay, it is 7 o'clock Bangkok time, and welcome to everybody for the third in the series of the AIT School of Professional Intelligence. This is the Master's webinar series, and it's related specifically to a new program that is being launched in 2 weeks' time, where AI is embedded in every course using high flex mode. It's my pleasure. My name is Dr. Roger Levermore, and I'm the person that chairs these sessions to introduce and to welcome Axel Winter, who's the Group CDO of Siam Piwat, for this particular session that looks at Agentic AI. I'm going to spend a few moments just talking a little bit about the program. This program that we talk about at the start of each one of these webinar series is a program which is designed for working professionals that want to learn more about how AI is reshaping their industry and what type of expertise can they pick up in a year or 2 years or over a few courses that can help them with that knowledge as their industries transform. So essentially, this is for professionals who need to stay in work while building the capabilities of the AI era demands. And although we'll be talking tonight mainly about the Masters in Professional Intelligence, we do have applications open for people that want to do this as an executive certificate. So they do each course and they stack it up over a series of time until they go through and complete the program, or they just do that course as a standalone. So we'll say a few words about that at the end of this session tonight. The program, for those that do the master's program, it's shaped around 3 parts. The first part is the core competence, which has got a spine, which is an AI data science type of spine, but without going into a lot of technical detail in programming. So that's the start of the program. And then we have core courses that students get the chance to choose, which are in topics like design thinking, machine learning, sustainability, and business. That's the first part of the program. The second part of the program is a specialization buffet, and those streams are for people that want to learn more about in-depth AI application in business or technology, in engineering, public policy, climate, and food, agriculture, natural resources. So that's the specialization. And then the program, those that do the professional master's program will complete a capstone, which is between 6 to 12 credits. And we feel that students that want to go through and complete fairly quickly can do so in 1.5 years. Those that would like to spend a bit longer doing the program, they can do so over a 5-year period. Who is the program for? Well, this is for people that have got maybe a busy professional life. So working professionals, these might be managers or future leaders, those who are from an engineering background or people who are working as entrepreneurs. We also see applications coming from the public sector and development professionals. We have a large amount of the people joining the program at the moment who are sponsored by their employer so that they can carry on working, but help apply and learn from AI to help their company immediately. And we also get applications from capable recent graduates. So the applications we're receiving right now are really from the age of 23 up until 66. So we've got a wide range of people applying for this program from different levels of seniority in a business or an industry. So this is especially for people that want to think about how AI is applied in your own field. This is not a program that is all about AI specialism. It's not about programming or coding. It's really about the application side of AI. We were asked the question in the first workshop about what makes this program different. And I feel that there are 4 different areas that makes the program different. One is that it's high flex, meaning that for the courses which are in person, you're more than welcome to join the class in person. We have some international faculty who will be teaching around the world, so that will be online. And for those who can't join, those learners who can't join the class in person, they'll also be able to join either live online, or it will be recorded and they look at the recording after the session is over. So we use this term high flex. The second area that combines to make this program different is that AI knowledge is embedded into every single course. And you can specialize either in a track that you've got expertise in already, or you would like to get expertise in a specific area, such as around civil and environmental engineering, business and entrepreneurship. There were the different tracks mentioned in the previous slide. And then fourthly, this is a program which is taught by industry, academic, and AI experts. So there's a really nice combination of different skill sets. So these four areas combined, I feel, make this program quite different to the others. What are the types of roles or upskilling that you could expect to see once you complete a course or the program? Number one, it's about the different types of roles that this prepares you for. So you might be working as an engineer or an analyst, and you want to think about how AI is being brought into your domain. So that's one area. It could be about how do you help build AI-enabled products and ventures to help you understand more, maybe about the financial side of the organization. Okay, you might be interested in the way that governance and ethics and data management is changing to respond to some of the opportunities and the challenges which AI presents. And then the upskilling is how can you reason even better using data or a fluent use of AI tools. Could be about using AI responsibly. There are 5 or 6 different areas here that we feel this program and the courses on the program will help contribute to this upskilling. But the main focus is making sure that you stay valuable and promotable as AI reshapes the field that you are in. So it's my pleasure, after introducing the program, to introduce you to Axel Winter, who is a pioneering technology expert who's at the sort of intersection of AI, luxury retail, and consumer technology. As the group CDO for Siam Piwat, his part of the group that is responsible for Siam Paragon and Icon Siam, the really well-known shopping mall areas in Bangkok. And Axel will speak for 25 or so minutes, and then we'll have 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing now and invite Axel for his presentation. Axel, over to you.
Thank you very much for that intro. And let me just get going here. And if you all should be able to see, well.
Yes.
Thank you. So I was talking to Roger and Sia ahead of this time, so I put some ideas on some slides. And actually, I did not put anything on the slide. Actually, my one AI tool, I have put things on a slide which I scripted before. To be very honest, I think doing slides is a bit of a thing of the past. And from a context perspective, I did not want to go into detail because usually it's kind of difficult in these kind of short sessions to deep dive. But however, if you have questions, then I'm happy to get into any detail I can. So then that's fine with me. So let's say this is a bit directional in sense. I think there is a kind of a shift also in thinking which we need to get to. I think like probably all of you, reading AI news. Some of it I do, some of it you read because there are billion, trillion-dollar companies involved and you can't copy them that easily, of course. But I think that it seems to me that the most important piece is, which is true for any true transformation, if you look at the shifts which we had over the last maybe 2, 3 decades, that the real importance is to get the right viewpoint on where we are, as into truly kind of understand the opportunity which we have. And with opportunity comes risk and responsibilities, of course. But it's important to be clear of where we are. So I would encourage you, whether it's with me or with others, make sure that you and we all are clear of where we are. And sorry, I mean that if we understand, and normally when we look at transformation, then people are kind of like typically people complain about big corporates not getting it and so on, because they keep linking to the old way of doing business rather than using the new technology, new opportunities to shift the business of how it works. That is the typical challenge you see in any transformational journey. And people kind of sticking to the old and trying to apply new technology to the old. I'm pretty sure you're doing it, or parts of your organization do that, as I see it also in many organizations every day. So it's so much more important to get that thought across that, hey, no, that's not true anymore. I give you, before I give examples, maybe let me say who is Siam Piwat. Because when I started here, I didn't know the company either, mind you, although I'm already here almost 6 years. So we have a couple of shopping centers set, and you can be seen. And I think what is important in this context is that Thai shopping centers are really globally leading. Not only by aspiration, but also in hard numbers, be it footfall, be it revenue across malls and so on. Thai retail industry in general is top of the world. Really, it literally is. I know all of us. I know our competitors also. We all get visitors from Europe, from America, from China. How are we doing it here? So it's kind of interesting to see how can we all in this industry be best practice. And of course, CMP Watt focuses more on luxury than others, creating kind of a luxury destination experience. And One Siam is, as a term, is a super app, is our app. Let's say consumer app. There's a non-consumer piece to it for staff and also for tenants, and as well, it signifies the Siam Paragon, Siam Discovery, and Siam Center. These three also we call One Siam. There's in Siam Square, One Siam. I'm sure you get it. And XPO, Exponential, where I'm working, or I'm the CEO of Exponential, is our innovation AI spin-off, basically, which is by now already 3 years old. So quite kind of early. Yeah, my boss, Controlative, is quite visionary in that sense. Now, for us, a mall, and I'm not going to go too much into our business. I just wanted to give context for our thinking. A mall, this is really true. It sounds cheesy, as they say in America, but the difference is I'm not sure ever any of you have been in some of the US malls. I used to work as a consultant in the US, and then I had to go to some of these malls for lunch or dinner. And that many of them have not been fun places. You didn't actually feel like going in there. They didn't have windows to the outside world because people were worried in the old days that somebody shoots through them. I'm guessing, I have no clue. It looked really weird. But for us, of course, this is the relationship. A mall, we create relationships with customers, with consumers, and they may not shop as that sense. The the word shopping mall might be even wrong. It's really a destination, maybe more like a European downtown marketplace. If you think Munich or Vienna um, or Milan or something, right? And then that is more like it in that sense. So this is the thinking where we come from, and then so I form my tech views, AI views around this. Anyway, so when we then shift into AI, then again, not knowing where each of you is, obviously, um, is in the beginning we use chatbots in a way, and we get answers and we like them or we don't like them, and we complain to the chatbot and so on, right? And sometimes we can just use it. And of course, you can see that there is a significant journey around this, and you see some examples here. But when you then come to an agent, actually, when you yourself, and I'm using agents also for my own enablement, um, it's neither expensive nor difficult to set up if you haven't. I wrote also some articles on this. It really makes a big difference if you can look at an agent and tell an agent what to do or set up agents with certain instructions. There is a challenge there that they're drifting, and then maybe the quality can be changing in certain senses, right? So you need to make sure that you manage that smartly, but you feel differently when you start being able to have an AI you can talk to, and you can instruct to do things, and please do this every day or every minute and let me know if there's a problem or whatever, and they just go away like a person, and then attend to it with different grades of success. And this is once you try it yourself, if you haven't, you will, in my impression, you will immediately get what is the shift and how significant um, this must be. And it cannot be understated that no job, I mean, from a security guard, from a cleaner, like property care service, somebody who does valet at the mall or at the hotel, credit operations. I mean, you see some here, disruption management, right? Risk management, planned operations. I mean, it's not only that you get an information, there is a part which needs to be replaced, like as in preventive maintenance, but actually that an agent already goes and orders the part and instructs the crew to implement it. And you just basically get the outcome. Um, and I think these type of integration and smartness on acting on items, that is kind of a big differentiator in my view. And yeah, I mean, I would say there is the risk in there, but there is the opportunity. And if I look at my time now, I'm probably factor 10 more busy because factor 10 more empowered. So I have certain sets of agents, and I keep talking to them all day, and they're going away and then doing things, and I can direct them and redirect them and so on. And that kind of orchestration is more of my work. And out of that, you can distinguish that your work also must change. Anyway, so when we look at this a bit more structured, then you can see, of course, we're moving from chatbots to embedded intelligence, meaning these features which we have, they will have an AI, they will have agents and sub-agents in there doing stuff. There could be agents to specific tasks, and there can be agentic operations. I mean, if I use terminology across this, and what I mean is that for the chatbot, it's a bit more copy and paste type of thing. So I copy an email, I write an email like feedback, and then I have a final, and then I copy it in my email window. Versus I could have an agent inside an email engine to reply with a certain bandwidth, and then to assign tasks. And then the final part is be a person. So actually, an agent does not relate to a process. I think there is a bit of a misconception. An agent can be a process, which is where the confusion comes from. But when you actually looked at the lessons we learned from process optimizations and leaning processes in the past 30 years, then I would say the ROI was mediocre at best. It was an improvement to the as is, to the actuals, but was it really a shift change? Almost never. I'm sure there are some exceptions, but having done this quite a bit in my life, almost never. However, it never really successfully replaces people unless people would be working on one specific item only. Like you're picking up the phone or you're answering a certain question. You have a very small scope assigned to your duties. Then, of course, leaning process leaning can remove a certain headcount if that's what you wanted to do, and specifically contact centers and so on and so on. But what we are talking about here is that no, we are not thinking about one process. We're thinking about the whole job. It's about a whole box. You treat an agent or an agentic system like a person's job or like a job. And then you onboard them in the same way, you explain the job to them. There are parallels there. And then it can empower certain employees. And there is definitely a productivity difference. And this is where the headcount discussion comes from, is on the productivity difference. Clearly, once you have agents in there, there must be a productivity uptake. Otherwise, why you bother? And once you go there, you need to think about is, do you hire? What I noticed now is, by the way, it's less a negative headcount discussion. It's more a how do we empower people more so that the productivity increases? Because anyway, I cannot hire new people, right? I have a certain limit in headcount, but I can do double the work potentially. Okay, doubling is probably a little bit stretching it, but that's where this is going for sure. And so for me, this is kind of the road. And if you're really very good, you can say you already can have an agentic ecosystem for a whole business team, pay management team, things like we're doing, or let's say loyalty operations, or kind of a MarTech team, let's say insights team, or any other data entry for sure. That'd be an easy one to automate, and then you see these jobs shifting. There is, as you employ that, there is also, of course, a learning exercise, right? So just as, I mean, these slides always look very beautiful, but in reality, when you see agents kind of drifting and going and changing its capabilities, so they 9 times of 10 they seem to do well, and at the 10th time the response could be wrong, because maybe there was some data was not available and you forgot to put in some checks and balances, and so on, right? So it can also be that the agent just decides not to use a certain feature, but redevelops the feature. That happened. I mean, it can happen, shouldn't happen, but can happen, right? So there are certain guardrails you can put in, but again, things can fail, and there are learnings in there. Technology changes. Many of these agentic frameworks are not very mature yet, meaning you need to really go from the ground up, depending on the department. And then, of course, you would create tremendous learning out of that exercise, and then adjust how you work and what you do. And necessarily, that is not a tech task. This can be, for me, it's more like a hybrid. There's definitely some tech involved, but a lot of the business capabilities and steps are being done by business users, I would say. And then maybe you have some technology support within a group. I think that quite often, and you see some of the failure reasons there below being outlined. Like maybe the data is not there, And on data, again, I didn't want to make this about data, although data is, of course, a dependency. As in, I remember in Standard Chartered Bank in 2012, we started with big data and what's called data lake and so on, right? And but of course, not every company did that, and they still didn't quite get to data quality and so on because it wasn't maybe fully necessary in the way you operate. And then, of course, that work is still there. That was waiting all along for you. Maybe the tools are better now, but data quality and correlation, causality across data threads and so on, these are still important topics. And it's an enablement layer to get to the next data level. I talk about this in a minute, but kind of how do you manage knowledge away from data to becoming kind of a knowledge ecosystem is a not trivial task, which in my view is kind of the next S-curve. I think when we shift a little bit and you take the lesson learned out of this is how would that impact an ecosystem, right? So today largely what we do is we hire a consulting company maybe to think about the business models, they do some analytics around, maybe they do best practices, what are others are doing. I mean, we all see the slides in corporate, these are the 10, 15, 20, I don't know, retailers, small operators, banks, whatever in the world, they are better than others. And that task maybe takes a consultant. I used to work in consulting, maybe takes a consultant, 1, 2 people, maybe a week. Specifically if they have to call some of their colleagues across the world to get some insights. There are definitely insights which are not public knowledge, which consultants do have. However, I have done something similar last week on a topic, and it took me about an hour. No, I mean, I wouldn't say even an hour. I think I'm stretching it. It probably was more like half an hour, and I start editing a little bit. And so just think about that task. Again, there is still value from consultants, but for me to get a market overview or market intelligence briefing together, which I have done as a consultant many times, if I can compress just the public part of the data on that. And I was in some clients where the client wanted to know, we didn't have any, I mean, this is like 20 years back. We didn't have any insights into what the top best practice company in the world did, which was one of these .com businesses. And we called their call center to find out how they operate, and then guess the rest, right? So I mean, again, consulting can be very creative. The answers we gave was not wrong, but again, I think the client could have done that as well. I think so. So not to say that some of the briefings I saw they are fairly analytical, and they have real insights from multiple clients. Anyway, when I use Kimi has kind of this swarm, this K3 swarm model. It spins off like 5, 6, 7 agents to create analytics and then or any task, and then it assembles a team of people, agents, to do it, and then creates an output out of it. So if you apply that to the way you do work today, is you hire consultants, you have kind of a strategy, then maybe you have an operational layer, a budget layer you have to address. Then there's a technology, maybe then you go to some vendors, you buy a SaaS or something along the lines. Maybe some outsource development. I think you can compress that now in, hey, there is no need to outsource at all. I could do all of this even in complex topics in-house. The question is more what I choose to do. It's not what I have to do because I have no other choice. But the question now is I have choice. With a very few well-trained, smart colleagues, I can achieve my own general ledger platform. I can achieve a point of sale software, right? So that would not be the problem. The question is where I choose to invest my time and effort in creating something like that versus where I go outside in the market and hire skills. And you can see this hiring skills then boils down, and you concentrate that outsourcing in the widest sense into a certain expertise, which you either don't want to have, can't have, or it's not worth it because it's too low cost, it's too commoditized. Um, and like payroll software or something. I mean, why would you bother? It's so cheap in the market. Um, so this is or certain degrees of super expertise like AI engineering or some LLM developer. I run into two of them in a Korean company. I mean, very difficult to find. So if you look at it from that perspective, you could probably say most of the work we are doing today in our organizations, we can do in-house. Most of the software we use, because most of the software is not that intelligent yet, then why could we not do it ourselves? So companies like Klarna, one of my preferred choices, they have gone down as one of the first. The CEO has very strong opinion in Klarna Group to say, no, we don't want to buy, we want to build. And that's what they've been doing. And they put their significant tech team there, and the idea is to lower the cost and put the innovation up. I was running into a startup there. They actually copying AS400 and mainframe platforms and creating new tech out of it for you. And then they have a model to assess legacy platforms, legacy code, and then create new tech platforms out of this fairly easily. And then it's up to you to further develop them or what have you. And if you think about that, how many organizations cannot escape their legacy trap because it's too expensive? It costs you easily going to an outsourcer, costs you easily $40-50 million for I mean, just even let's say maybe like a loans platform or something, right? Which is just to one-to-one migrated. So I can see some of the Thai companies, European companies are also going down this. I've heard about some of the car manufacturers, some of the retailers are investing there to get rid of their legacy. In Thailand, I've heard from these companies, Siam, Piwat, of course, we do it. We replace except one all our SaaS as far as exponential is concerned. Because we're focusing and targeting on what we have. So think about that in the context and how much we can reduce the cost and drive innovation and at the speed we want, not the vendor relationship ones. Yeah, so then this goes back a little bit to the job topic. Again, don't think process, think job. So I think it's a more holistic view once we're looking at jobs. And if I say jobs change does not mean is that the people go and the agent stays for the job. But let's think about driving expertise up. In my impression, the implication is stronger on the middle management, so probably most of us, than actually the people who are hands-on. Many middle management, because of the size of the organizations, often are reporting upwards or coordinating. They have skills, but it's just that the bureaucracy in many corporations is at a stage where it's just busy work to attend meetings and update and collect information and so on. And I feel with agents, this could change. I went to a hackathon 2-3 weeks ago. One of the startups, which I really loved and won one award, was it would actually have agents dial into Teams meetings and Zoom meetings and can voice respond, can of course record, not only record, but create knowledge graphs, as in connecting information which is being discussed in a call or in a chat room and connected to different topics and themes, and it can be recorded later via the technologies use graph databases for that, so you get kind of these knowledge graphs, almost like a mind map of information. And I thought that was very, very successful. So institutional knowledge is retained within organization regardless of the people, which is good for people coming in new or people changing jobs. So think about this in the context of where your organization would go with more technology like this. So you focus on domain expertise. So a manager is really someone with the most expertise, not only being busy managing a big team. To do QA, to do coaching, to do governance, work with agents and a team to drive forwards, again, using his subject matter expertise rather than being busy in update information gathering meetings. So for me, that is kind of the key shift here. Coming to a close. So I think for a personal action plan, I think for me, what is important that we realize that the key work in the corporate is to focus on strategy of what we want to do with the powers given. This is one. This assumes that you have already an agentic framework. So if you don't have it, then clearly there has to be a roadmap. So we have them for different domains, be it finance, be it marketing, customer, and so on, which many organizations do. And they coexist with existing applications. But again, at the same time, while doing that, the tech team can prepare a kind of a framework if you want, but the business users need to hook into that and take the ownership of managing and working with agent, because an agent is more about the business outcome or the goals rather than the technology. And again, as we adopt this agentic frameworks more in depth, you're gonna see that more clearly. Now it looks still like a lot of tech, but I give it 3-4 months, and we'll be talking about outcomes and business rather than tech, depending on your organization. That means for you yourself also that I met some people, they try not to use AI, they try not to use agents and in their work or in their university and so on. And again, I find that high risk, because actually the subject matter expertise and being rather fast in adopting and becoming more productive is the mode of not doing it. So for me, it's really a must-have, and spending the hour at night or on the weekend to self-learn, self-train for me is I find that critical. In fact, I have more fun than I've ever had, actually, coming to think of it. And I think there has to be a data strategy, of course, and understanding what the data is. Again, too many also business colleagues not always understand the information, whereas tech colleagues don't always understand the business, but definitely understanding the data information organizations have and what they mean is critically important, like the definition of these and the way to use them. And then ideally, if you haven't been, be the first to pilot. Don't be the last. Be the first, right? Be at the bleeding edge, and talk about it, right? I mean, and give feedback. I stop here, and I'm again happy for any question. And by the way, if this course helps you to deep dive on any of these, then there's going to be critically important, because all jobs are gonna be more orchestrating than actually doing them the way we do them today.
Thank you very much, Axel, for a really thought-provoking presentation that goes through and provides a general overview, but allows for a little bit of a deep dive in certain areas as well. We have now got 15 or so minutes for any Q&A. So if anybody's got any questions, then please use the chat box. There's also a Q&A function that you can use to go through and ask your questions. But as the chair, maybe I can just ask the first question. And that goes back to 2 points that you made in slides. One was you quoted McKinsey talking about the differentiator becoming judgment, relationship, and the human touch. I just wonder if you could say a few more words just to add a bit more flesh to what you mean by some of those terms, particularly the human touch. How do you see that playing out in the world of work in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, I think that there are two pieces, right? One is one dimension. There is, of course, the skill which I talked about, as in using superior skill, and even in development, right? I mean, a lot of people saying that for software development, there is no more software development and so on. But designing application, designing architectures, picking technologies, thinking this through, there is a lot of work, and the code is by no means already fully automated in many areas. This is one. The other one is we also need to realize that humans still like to talk to humans. There are different dimensions. When we work together, we create a certain creativity. We create different differentiating outcomes, which an AI may not be able to pick up, right? As in having new ideas, creating new designs, new layouts. Even when you orchestrate an AI to do it for you, you would do it differently than I would. My outcomes always will be a little bit maybe generic and clear and clean, with bold fonts, but I wouldn't have a very colorful palette, for example, right? Because that's not maybe what I aspire to. And I mean, just to give a stupid example, and I feel that in this type of human relationships, there is a dimension which um, we know from statistics also in Thailand, in the region, globally, where people, even if they talk to an automated chatbot, there is only so far they go. Okay, it's a novelty, they get certain things out of it, it's easy. But at a certain time, they like to be treated by another human. They go to a mall, they expect to work, to meet people and to shop and talk to a salesperson if they're and that makes a good experience in a mall. As I said, it's an experience, place for experiences. So I feel in these depends on the job role, right? And I think there are different dimensions there which an AI cannot easily close. And we have seen since COVID that people kind of crave dealing with people. That's our one dimension. The other is really the creativity, being spontaneous, driving towards what we believe in also creates differentiated outcomes, unique outcomes, which are equally important.
Okay. Then kind of a follow-up question to that is in your final slide, you had this title heading saying going from using AI agent tools to AI agent solutions. There'll be people here today that haven't developed an AI agent. So I guess I've got two questions here. One is, where do they start with starting off? Why would they do not why would they do, but where would they go through and look? What type of apps would they use to create an AI agent? And then where would they start with looking for AI agent solutions?
Yeah. I think it depends a bit whether you look at the personal empowerment space versus a company space, right? So if you're an organization and there you would look at it there, then clearly a framework like a foundation you will be created by, let's say, an AI engineer typically, and then in a second step, business users would get involved. There are for, let's say, technologies. There are many stacks, very easy actually. You can set them up on any cloud provider. You can set them up on your own platform using Langchain and other tools. Very actually, it's kind of straightforward to set up an agent, connect them to an LLM. Can be on a on-prem if you have your own data center, or can be a cloud LLM model which you connect via AI. I think that is one, and then I would say setting it up just to try it out probably takes a day or two, and then so it's quite, in my view, quite simple. Creating an ecosystem though, which applies itself to a domain or to a business, that can take longer, right? So if you think about this, hey, I want to solve accounting, let's say general ledger, account receivables, and so on. So you go down that path, of course, and then there is a bit of work involved because you need the right expertise, agents doing the right thing, there being the right checks and balances involved, and so on, until users can use. I think that there is a second space in corporates where new tools from Microsoft, from Google, like Google Enterprise, from Microsoft, like Microsoft Scout and Foundry, they're creating platforms for the enterprise to create can I say, end user type of tooling. So here you could, let's say, create automated email processing or maybe news summary or something fairly simple, calendar updates, your Teams calls or Zoom call summaries. So that for me is, as these tools mature, they're maturing now, they're already getting quite okay. Let's say give it another 3 to 5 months and they're going to be good. And your company, my guess is most companies going to enable access to that, right? So I have seen latest Microsoft Foundry. I thought we're using some part of that for the end users, and I thought that looked with different models, actually, kind of a model mix, different LLMs, a bit depending on the purpose and the capability. And I thought that looks already very, very, very good. And then there's a personal enablement space where that may be a bit overblown. And then there are some tooling which come up in the market. There's an app like Hermes. Hermes Agent is an app you can download. I see both Claude and Kimi already integrating that into their apps. Gemini app is a bit slow here. OpenAI is also evolving in that sense. I believe Grok, if anybody uses it, also has some tasks. I look seldomly in it, but sometimes. So I think my current impression is, as of today, I can see Claude and Kimi being the apps being quite task focused and or more incrementally more task focused. Again, Hermes would be something to try out, which is a little bit more complicated in the setup, but it's open source. You can connect easily a model to it and then start experimenting. Sure, you put a rate limit in, not that you fire all night on AI charges. Yeah, so there's a various, and I can share some of that as a follow-up also on my homepage, maybe, or LinkedIn.
That would be great. Yes, please. There is a question in the Q&A that I've just put into the chat box from Aman saying, how should enterprises think about return on investment when there's a possibility that a technology becomes outdated before it has fully paid for itself? What strategies do you recommend to minimize technology obsolescence while still moving fast enough to stay competitive?
Well, I mean, that never stopped any enterprise, frankly speaking, right? I mean, so first of all, is the current tech stack in a corporate really consistently that new, right? I mean, that would I mean, happy to see it, mind you, but it slightly surprise me. Um, I think so. This is one issue. So in general, on your IT strategy and roadmap, how do you deal with kind of keeping technology always fresh and new? For me, that's an ever ongoing process. And that also applies to building blocks in the AI space, right? So this is number one. For that, in my view, needs some in-house capability. I would find it difficult if you create an outsourcing, offshoring to it, because an outsourcing typically, not always, but typically cements a certain ecosystem, freezes it in, and keeps it alive, basically, right? So I would find it difficult and probably also costly because you have too many targets at the same time. I think for the AI specifically is, I think if you create a corporate or company type of framework today, I think you can use open source tools, open tools, as one, or secondly, Microsoft, Google, Amazon cloud stack, or Alibaba, or Tencent, or Huawei Cloud. So just to be fair to all of them. And most of them, if not all, already actually offer a stack. It's like a toolbox, which allow you actually to bring the components together to create agents. It's very simple. It's a few lines of code. It's like a chat prompt, and then some orchestration engine. So think about like a mini workflow type of tool, which can kick them off and fire them off. So there typically is software like this already in all the cloud providers. Again, if you use open source, easy to download, blockchain, and I mean there are a couple of tools which you can use for that. And then typically what a tech team would do is you would have like, let's say, 2, 3 people to maintain, depending on the size of the organization. And of course, keep this stack fresh and new. And mind you, for any agent, even as a user, you would need to consider how to keep it new, because you learn, the agent learns how to operate, and that also needs to be applied. Is there an ROI there? And I know that there are doubters there. I have seen them. I've seen some of the studies, the MIT study as well, and others. But the problem in my impression is usually not the cost of the AI solution. The problem is the overall spend in an organization, right? Especially bigger corporates. Banks are particularly concerning sometimes of having run 2 global banks IT strategy. My experience is that if we buy software, if we outsource to a third party, then the ROI can be very elusive because the cost base is very high. That's not meaning that that approach to outsource is bad necessarily, but again, it has to be paid for. And so it becomes less an AI problem. It becomes more, an IT strategy and delivery model problem of how do you keep your cost overall lean, and then you use the investment capabilities or capacity you have into creating, with ideally in a skilled in-house team, a kind of a new framework. And in my experience, there does not have to be an ROI issue if you manage your overall cost smartly.
Okay. Then there's one more question that's come through the Q&A from Congrich, and this says, going back to the question that was asked a little bit earlier, could you just say once more some of the right AI models that could be selected, or also what are the determining factors about whether to build your own AI agents?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there are. Let me reread the first part. Yeah, so the model question is whatever I say now could be in 2 hours already obsolete, because the model market moves fast. There are all the big tech companies in China and in the West creating new models consistently. There's a new Thai LLM as well. In effect, I was talking to one group in Malaysia. They created their own Bahasa-based model, because they're saying that a lot of the language resources models use the Indonesian dialect, Indonesian language, as a foundation, which then sometimes, because there are more people and so on, I don't quite fully follow his explanation. It was very detailed. But anyway, so Malaysia maybe having less public information out there, so that language and the context sometimes gets lost. So they create their own model, and that's good. The more the merrier, and it's also a good experience for the people involved. How they will survive in the long term, as in 5 to 10 years, nobody knows, right? It's too long time frame. But now what we know is that models change very fast, the landscape, and we need to put some effort in First of all, selecting one of the top models, ideally top 3, 4 models. Can it be open source? Can be closed source? Probably doesn't matter. And then use it. Look at other developments every now and then. Maybe even try them out every now and then, not every day, obviously. Potentially add on. In a stronger environment, what you do is you use multiple models for different tasks. First of all, there is an expertise difference in models. Secondly, for some tasks, also a lower cost model can be good enough for that task, right? So if you have a very simple task, or again a special task where maybe a model is specialized on and it's just lower cost, you get it at a lower cost point, then that can be already sufficient. You don't need to have the top model do everything for you. Actually, and top models are not always good in everything either. So it's quite fair to distribute. Should you have your own model? My guess is, should you run your own model is the question behind that, on your own hardware. And again, it depends as an ROI. So I have seen and discussed even corporates who are thinking about their own model farm. The problem is getting a large amount of GPUs at the moment is not always trivial. Getting 5 or 10, 50, maybe. But if you start scaling this further, if you're that big and you need hundreds, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, then we would need to have a more diverse supplier list of GPUs, and these chips readily available. So this is one. Should you then have a smaller device at your home, like the Mac Mini, which people talk about, or MSI has also minis. I mean, all of the manufacturers come out with these Mac Mini. In Apple's platform or Apple's hardware is already has a GPU, and the traditional Windows Intel vendors, Intel AMD vendors, they also have built-in GPU. Some of them NVIDIA. And should you have that? Well, it depends what you do. I saw some of my colleagues here going up with their home lab up to what was it, 96 billion parameters kind of models. So then for me, that's a lot. You can do a lot with that type of model. Can operate a chatbot easily and so on. So document processing and what have you. So I mean, first of all, I would try it with a hoster and see whether that makes sense, whether that works. Models from a trend perspective, models would get more efficient and um, and also be able to run on lower spec hardware. So it's a little bit a small business case you would need to pull up if you have one, or maybe in your company, maybe an SME lab, you have 5 or 10 of these boxes to support. I do an ROI. My guess is the more hardware you need, the less good the ROI will be. But again, depends on the use case as well. If that
Okay.
helps.
Thank you very much, Axel. We are almost at the end of the session today.
Okay.
So what I would like to do is just to share here some of the takeaways that I wrote down earlier from looking at your slides and how that relates to the AIT SPIN program. I feel that you spoke a lot about the way that we're moving from the importance of agents for workflow, but also the importance of judgment and human touch as a next step about how we differentiate ourselves. And I'm hoping that McKinsey's quote is accurate, that there's a lot more work out there in the future for people who can go through and make that type of case. Number two, it's about the way that boards need to build their own and not buy in so much. So that was the second takeaway that I think relates very well to the AIT School of Professional Intelligence. And the last area was around about the quality of data and the importance of data and the linkage between that and AI agent usage. So I think they were the things that I took away from before I listened to your presentation today. For those of you who are interested to learn more about the AIT School of Professional Intelligence, we have got 2 codes here. One is for the websites. The website is on the left-hand side. The AIT flyer is on the right. For those who want to join the program, which starts on the 17th of August, which is in 2 weeks' time, the deadline is this Friday. And there's two different types of program you can apply for. One is a professional master's, which is the full 36 credits, which lasts between 1.5 and 5 years. Or there is the executive certificate program where you go through and start with the AIT Data Science Spine, and then you can build on after that. So they're the two QR codes I'd like to share with you. Next Monday at the same time, we have the next virtual webinar, and that's with Dr. Ahmed Hamad, who is a senior data scientist, and he talks about decision making for AI. So we go through and come back. So hopefully we see many of you again next Monday evening. But for now, I'd like to go through and for one more time, thank Axel and everybody else for joining this session, and hope to see you again shortly. But for now, good night. Bye-bye. Thank you, Axel.
Right.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.